Well, hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Walking Through the Scriptures with Joseph Hoda. I'm your host, Joe Bahoda, and I just want to do a quick video on just sharing my heart, just sharing some thoughts as to the apology/repentance of Marcus Rogers when he went and interviewed Jonathan and Susie, and then later he eventually interviewed Joni Lamb as well. I had already given my opinion and thoughts on this before, and when I did that 2.5 hour live when Marcus Rogers interviewed Jonathan and Susie, and I had given my thoughts on this before. So a lot of you already know this, but unfortunately, if you were to get all my thoughts or opinions on this, you'd have to watch all 2.5 hours of that live, and I'm not going to do that to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you a quick video on just my thoughts on it overall. Marcus Rogers interviewing Jonathan and Susie and him interviewing Joni Lamb about a week later. In one concise video, okay? A couple of thoughts on this. One, I appreciate Marcus's apology and repentance because I do believe he was wrong. Not necessarily sinful, but just it was unwise to go down there and interview them. And I said this originally when he interviewed Jonathan and Susie. I was like, this is a bad idea. This is wrong. And I'll tell you why. Number one, if you remember up until that point, Jonathan and Susie had already made a video. So did Joni, by the way. They had already made videos as far as their sides of the story. Okay, if you remember, Jonathan and Susie did a video, about a 28-minute video, talking about, we want to answer some of your questions. Jonathan and Susie had already made a 28-minute video before this. Joni dropped a 34-minute video or so with her 4 girlfriends, i.e. her yes men, because that's exactly what those 4 ladies were. So Joni got on camera with her 4 yes men lady girlfriends, and she gave her side of the story. Okay? So Jonathan and Susie said everything they needed to say, and so did Joni. Now, this is the point I made when Marcus interviewed Jonathan and Susie. I said, this is a bad idea, because if the essay of their child really did happen, there's an old saying, when people read you your rights, they say, anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. Well, if this SA really did happen, the last thing you want to do is have a really, really bad interview and make Jonathan and Susie look bad. And there were some parts in that interview that I said made Jonathan and Susie look kind of bad. And I said, that's not what you want to do, because anything you can say will be used against you in the court of law. In this case, though, because of that, okay, this interview on YouTube did nothing to help them legally, Jonathan and Susie or Joni. Okay, none of these interviews helped them legally. So if anything, the only thing this helped do was to help get their story out more, i.e. they used Marcus Rogers' cachet, his platform on YouTube, to get their stories out. Okay, so if anything, all this did was help in the court of public opinion, but it didn't help in the court of law. Okay, Joni and Susie said the essay of their daughter, that case got reopened. Fine. So I originally said, let the courts, let the legal system, let the legal process handle this. Marcus Rogers says that these interviews are bad because, one, you're not the legal team. You're not the legal person that's going to do anything about this. So if you're interested in justice for the daughter, you interviewing is not going to help with that. Okay, the people legally who are, it's their job to do something about that. They're the ones who are going to be in charge of doing that. Marcus Rogers, you're not. So if anything, all you're doing is helping in the court of public opinion, okay? But since you interviewed both sides, you did the court of public opinion on both sides. So it was totally and completely a waste of time. Now, you said you went and interviewed Joni later because, you want to get more than just one side of the story because it's wise to hear both sides. That's fine. But all you really did was just build up your own platform. You just built up your own channel. You just built up views for yourself, okay, which I'm going to get into later in a little bit. So you're not going to help the legal process at all. So stay away from this. Let the legal people do what they do. And again, by interviewing them, you're going to make people look bad. If the child was SA'd, that's not something you want to do. Okay? So this looks really, really bad. All it did was just build up, again, the court of public opinion. That's all it did. But the other thing it did, this came across as, in the spirit of that, as a PR move for Marcus. Because his first interview with Jonathan and Susie got over like 440,000 views. And this was like about a week or so ago. So it's probably even more now. This was a PR move for Marcus. Okay? This was also a PR move for Joni. okay? And also Jonathan and Susie too, okay? Because here's the thing. Up until about 3 or 4 weeks ago, Jonathan was still working for Daystar. And obviously Joni is the president of Daystar, okay? So in my opinion, this came across as a PR move for Marcus, but this was a PR move for Jonathan and Susie, and it was a PR move for Joni, especially Joni. Why? See, what you got to understand is, Saints, Joni, her media, if you will, is television. Okay, now granted, Daystar does have a YouTube channel, but she probably has a staff and a team that runs that. Joni's world is TV. Her world is not YouTube. Okay? So what you got to understand is, Saints, Joni Lamb used Marcus. Yes, Marcus, if you're listening to me right now, you got used. I believe that it was a good PR move for you. I'm not accusing you of that per se, but it comes across as that. And it dang sure, built up your channel and built up your views. Okay? You can't deny that. Okay? However, though, again, all you can build is the in the court of public opinion. And that is exactly what happened for Jonathan and Susie, and especially Joni. Because Joni's world is not YouTube. Joni's world is TV. Okay? So what am I saying, Marcus? Don't get it twisted, brother. Another reason I think it's a bad idea, because you got used too. You were used. But especially in Daystar's point of view, from Joni's perspective, because again, her world is TV. Her world is not YouTube. Her world is not, what's happening in internet land. But that is Marcus Rogers, because you, Marcus, have about 850,000 subscribers. Okay? So she's going to use your platform. She's going to use your cachet. She's going to use your fame to get the court of public opinion on her side with her story out there. Okay? So don't get it twisted. You got used too. Now, you may have thought you were going down there for the greater good. You may have thought you were going down there to help. You also may have thought you were going down there to hear both sides of the story. But really all you were doing was being used by both of those parties. They used your platform to get their story out. So, Marcus, you were used too. But here's the thing, though. Didn't need to happen. This is another reason why I said it was a bad idea. Because I said, Marcus, Jonathan and Susie already put their idea out there. Or not idea, they already got their story out there when they made their 28-minute video. And Joni did the same thing with her 4 girlfriends with her video. So the reality is, Marcus, you didn't do anything for the most part, because we already knew the sides of the story. The videos were already out there. The only thing really that you added to this, Marcus, was when you interviewed Joni, and Joni went into she said she gave Jonathan a work performance plan. When you interviewed her, she said what that plan was for. So she elaborated a little bit more as far as what that plan was about and why, which was good. But other than that, Marcus, you added nothing to the stories. Because people who've been researching this and been following this story, like people like me on YouTube who have, Marcus, we already knew everything that they said. All you did was just refurbish and rehash what they already stated. Meaning, Marcus, you were completely irrelevant. Both your interviews with them did not a hill of beans any good. It was a waste of time, again, except to build your brand and your cachet. And so Jonathan and Susie and Joni could use you to build their case of public opinion. Okay? You may have used them, but I know they used you. Okay? Both of them did. Because they're building up their case of public opinion. And they used your platform on YouTube to do it. Now, here's the thing. Jonathan and Susie already made their video, and so did Joni. So they didn't need you. They didn't need you at all, because they already stated their case. But even though they both didn't need you, they both can use you. Because they can use your platform or cachet to get their story out. So they might not need you, but they will take advantage of you when it benefits them. And that's exactly what happened. Okay? Again, you got used. But my point is, in that, Marcus, particularly in the Joni interview, you gave such a lollipop softball interview that all she did was just restate, for the most part, what she already said. Same thing with Jonathan and Susie. So my point is, Marcus, it was a waste of time because you brought nothing to the table. You gave us really, for the most part, again, except for that work performance plan, other than that, you gave us nothing new. You gave us nothing that we didn't already know. So, Marcus, you were irrelevant, brother. You are totally and completely irrelevant, except building their cases up and building up your brand. That's it. As far as actually story, you gave us, for the most part, nothing new. You are a total, complete waste of time, and your story and your interviews were irrelevant. You gave us nothing. Then at the end of your apology and repentance, you said, well, not basically, you did. You accused Jonathan of don't be a Jacob. and you accuse Susie of being a Potiphar's wife. Now, these are very rebuking, very scandalous, very, these are really, these are not good analogies as far as how you paint them. You basically said something to the effect of, Jonathan, whatever is for you, but you got to get it under legal means. Now, if you study the story of Jacob, Jacob was a trickster. Before his name got changed to Israel, Jacob was a con man. Jacob was a liar. Jacob was a swindler. Jacob was a trickster. And he got his father's birthright via a trick. Now, he had his mother's help to do it. But basically, Jacob got, his father's blessing via being a trickster, a con man. Well, Marcus accused Jonathan of being Jacob, i.e. a con man, a liar, to get his father's blessing, I guess to get Daystar. Then he accused Susie of being Potiphar's wife. Okay, well, Potiphar's wife, if you study that story, Potiphar's wife lied on Joseph, saying that, he R-worded her, aped her. And again, I'm saying it that way for legal reasons. So this video doesn't get taken down. But she accused Joseph of that, which was a blatant lie. And then Joseph because of that lie, got thrown into prison. And I think he was in prison for like 7 years until he was able to interpret the dreams of Pharaoh. And then he eventually got released. So Potiphar's wife was not a good woman. She was a very, very lying, evil woman who wanted Joseph, to sleep with her. But then when Joseph refused, she lied on Joseph, accused him of the R word, and then he got sent to prison for 7 years. Well, Marcus basically accused Susie of being Potiphar's wife. Okay. With that being said, Marcus, you're basically saying Jonathan and Susie are liars. Okay. Which, again, allegedly they may be. Again, we're still trying to figure this story out. But that makes you, Marcus, look really, really stupid and bad. Because when you interviewed Jonathan and Susie, you were all on Team Jonathan and Susie when you originally went down there. Now, granted, maybe when you heard Joni's side, because you did talk about how she gave you text messages and she showed you emails or whatever. So maybe you got additional information. But that makes you look really bad, Marcus, because originally you were all Team Jonathan and Susie when you went down there. And you said you went down there because you knew people who've been essayed. You knew people who've been hurt in the church. You knew people who, bad things have happened to them. So that's why you went down there. Then you interviewed Susie, and then you interviewed Joni. Then you came back, and then you're accusing Jonathan and Susie of basically being con artists and liars. So either one, you got more information than what you put out in that apology, or two, it just makes you look bad. Because, again, if that's what you truly believe, just leave that out. Because, again, now you're accusing somebody of being con artists and liars, and originally when you interviewed them, you were Team Jonathan and Susie. Now it looks like you're being Team Joni. By accusing Jonathan and Susie of being con artists and liars, you're coming across as if you're Team Joni now. So either something happened to change your story or to make you flip-flop like that. And again, we're allowed to change our mind, but apparently you got information that we don't. Or two, it just made you look really, really bad because it clearly looks like you're Team Joni now. Which, from a PR perspective, from an optics perspective, looks really bad because it makes it look like now you're trying to interview to be on Daystar, to be the next, Daystar person who can get a slot on Daystar. I'm not accusing you of that, but that's what it looks like. It looks like, particularly when you went down there and you're all dressed up in your suit and all that. Now, granted, I heard your explanation about that, and I agree to a point as a military man. I know what it means. If you're going to go before the general, if you're going to go before the commanding officer, you're going to make sure your uniform is tight. You're going to make sure there's no lint. You're going to make sure there's no dirt. You're going to make sure that your uniform is exactly, the gig line is exactly how it's supposed to be. So when you go before the boss, when you go before the general, you want to make sure your stuff is clean. I get that. But it's funny how you did that with Joni, but you didn't do that with Jonathan and Susie. So it's clearly there is a double standard in how you see them. That made you look real stupid too. Okay? So when you got interviewed with Joni, you got all dressed up and you said, because you're going to the Daystar headquarters and you're going to see the president of the Daystar Corporation. Okay, that's fine. But you didn't see yourself interviewing the kids of the president with Jonathan and Susie. You give them basically no time of day. But when you go before Joni, you're all dressed up. Okay, again, you say you're going before the boss. You're going, like when you go to see the president, you're going to do that. And I agree. But come on now. It's coming across from an optics perspective like you're interviewing for the next Daystar job. Again, I'm not accusing you of that, but that's what it looks like. especially at the end when you come across as Team Joni. It sounds like you're Team Daystar now. So if you don't want that, then you shouldn't have said that, because that's what it looks like. It looks like you're Team Joni, i.e. Team Daystar, and it looks like you're interviewing for a job. Again, not accusing you of that, but that's the optics of it. That's the optics of it. That made you look really stupid and really bad. It really, really did. And I'm going to finally close with this. I also said when he was interviewing Jonathan and Susie, when they were talking about Joni's marriage to Doug and how it was a, illegitimate marriage and all of that, I said Marcus was the last person you need to be talking to about this, because Marcus has had, 3 or 4 marriages already, and when it comes to marriage and marriage things, he's not the right guy to talk to. Now, I'm not blaming Marcus for that. God gives us grace, okay? But that's also what I said in my video. Marcus, you are the last person to be talking about Jonathan and Susie about this, or even Joni for that matter, because you're not the marriage person guru, okay? So when it comes to marriage and divorce, I said, Marcus, take the L and thank Jesus for grace. Take the L and thank Jesus for grace, okay? So Marcus, you should not have inserted yourself for this, because it's going to make you look really, really stupid based upon your past, okay? You're not the right person to talk to about this, okay? Whether that's right or wrong or fair, that's just the way it is, okay? So again, take the L and thank Jesus for grace. But you didn't do that. You inserted yourself into this mess, and it made you look really, really stupid. I also gave advice for Jonathan and Susie. I said, what you need, Jonathan and Susie, if what you're saying is true, and you're now coming at a Daystar, and you're now seeing Daystar for the cesspool that it is, I said, what you need to do is you need people in your corner that's going to support you, that doesn't want anything from you, does not want your fame, does not want your name, does not want selfies with you, does not want to put you on their YouTube channel, does not want to get famous off of you. We want nothing from you. We don't want anything from your story. We don't want to get famous off your story. We don't want to get clicks or views on our channel via your story. We don't want to, again, put your face on we don't want anything. We don't want anything from you. All we want to do is bless and help you. Okay? That's all we want to do, is bless and help you. We want nothing from you. We want no money. We want no time. We want no fame. We want no name. We don't want your platform. We don't want your cachet. We don't want to use your story, to make us bigger or anything like that. We just want to bless and help you. Okay? I said, Jonathan and Susie, those are the type of ministers that you need in your corner. Well, this interview with Marcus Rogers was not it. Marcus, if you were going down there to be that person, you could have interviewed them and not put it on your channel. Which is what I would have did. If I would have got called to interview them, sure, I'd go down there and interview them, but I would have not put it on my channel. I would have not put their faces on my channel. I would have not put the interview on my channel. I would have nope. That's between them, God, and me, and I'm not using them for nothing. I don't want nothing from them. Well, clearly that did not happen here. It came across as a PR move for Marcus, and it dang sure was a PR move for Jonathan and Susie in the court of public opinion, and it dang sure was a PR move for Joni, because again, her world is TV, not YouTube. Well, guess what? She needs a person to do that. Tag Marcus, you're it. Especially Marcus, since you just interviewed Jonathan and Susie before this, she's going to want you. That's why it doesn't surprise me she reached out to you, Marcus. One, because of your platform and cachet, but you just got interviewing her son and his wife. So now she wants to get her side of the story out. And what better way to do that than be interviewed by the same guy that interviewed them? Marcus, again, you got used, brother. You got used. Okay, people can accuse you of using them, but guess what? They use you too. And again, what makes this so frustrating is you didn't bring anything, for the most part, new to the story. Because of those lollipop softball interviews you did, we got no new information. Everything that we got from the Roy's report. They're the ones who did all the work. You did nothing. Julie Royce and the Roy's report gave us, and those videos that they put out before, the Jonathan and Susie video and the Joni video, we already knew what was happening because of all that, before you even got there. So again, Marcus, you were late to the party and you gave us nothing new. You were irrelevant. These interviews were a total, complete waste of time. So again, I am going to turn this over to the court of not public opinion, but the court of the legal courts. I'm going to turn this over to the law and let the law tell us what happened based upon their findings, which is what I believe Marcus Rogers and everybody should be doing right now. Leave it alone. I reported what the Rory's report stated, and I went through the videos that they put out, and that's it. The Marcus Rogers video did not need to happen. And I'm going to end, like I said earlier, let the legal teams do what they need to do and let them find out what actually happened. And then based upon their findings, then we'll talk about it then. Based upon what comes out of all this. Because again, the case did get reopened on the essay of the child, so let's find out what happened. And then we'll go from there. Good, bad, or indifferent, we'll go from there. All right? But anyway, that's my thoughts, y'all. Again, as always, like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, know that God loves you 92. God bless everybody.